Say hello to my little friend. Hey, this is Tool Tip Tuesday. That sounds a little weird. That's okay, I'm gonna roll with it. So today's tool tip is about a device that I'm not gonna say I've stumbled onto. A guy named Adrian from AC Design's Garage actually sent me one. It's called a SHAKEMASTER 4000. So it's for rattle can paints. Let's talk about rattle can paints for a while. People misunderstand them. One of my favorite sayings is that there's no such thing as bad paint, there's no such thing as cheap paint, there's only misunderstood paint. And my biggest problem with how people abuse rattle can paints is that they don't paint with it at all. They color with it. They spray it until it looks like the color that was on the cap of the can, and then they're done. The truth is, every paint coating has its own SOP, standard operating procedure. There's wait times between coats, there's a recommended number of coats, and there's proper technique in spraying. This video is not about technique, but it's about the rattle cans. We've got to follow the rules. And the good news is most of the rules are on the back of the can. The other thing is this, I've got a couple of videos out there on the channel talking about rattle cans, trying to get professional results. The truth is there's no difference in the world of rattle cans and professional paint products. It's all the same. Every major paint company in the world has a bunch of different aerosols. There's clear coats, e-coat replacement products, adhesion promoters, and one that's near and dear to me and super important in my world is weld-through primer. And we're using a zinc weld-through primer on the garbage Camaro here. We've got to know how to use rattle cans. It's not that difficult, and this is not a lecture on rattle cans. This is a lecture on one of the things that you can get the most out of your rattle can. So here's the basic science between a rattle can and how to properly get the most out of it. And we can hear that. Obviously, there's little ball bearings in there that are designed to knock the solids loose out of the bottom of the can. So this is a highly non-viscous material, means it's super thin. So out of this can, if you think about it, about 10% is solids on the bottom. The rest of it is solvent and propellant. It's super thin, it has to be, because when you look at that air cap, it's absolutely tiny. A pneumatic spray gun has a much larger orifice, so it has to be super thin for the propellant to kick it out of the can. Why am I belaboring this? Well, it's important, obviously, that we shake it up for at least 2 minutes is a recommendation of most spray can manufacturers. At least 2 minutes. We can get real lazy, and if I can hear the balls rattle, I might be ready to paint. No. Step number one, make sure you shake it for at least 2 minutes. Here's the other thing. If you've got a pneumatic paint shaker like I do in my body shop, great. Buck it up, clamp it down, and walk away. Go get a cup of coffee, let the stupid thing shake. If you don't, that's when this guy comes in handy. So this is the SHAKEMASTER 4000. SHAKEMASTER 4000, AC Design's Garage, great YouTube channel. Link is in the description. And obviously it attaches to a reciprocating saw, i.e. a sawzall. It's got a V-shaped valley that I can put my product in. It's got a thumb screw here to snug it down so it doesn't get launched across the room like my homemade one did. Anyway. And then we can attach it to the reciprocating saw. And then pull the trigger, and it shakes the thing. So it's cool. It's a fun novelty. There's probably more than one manufacturer for that. I particularly like this one because it's bright red and I can't miss it when I set it down in my shop. Here's the other thing that happens when you use one of these devices, when you shake up your products, your rattle can products. not only does the ball get agitated at 10 times as fast as we can possibly shake it with our hand, but the friction and the action of everything shaking around inside the can actually builds up a little more pressure. One of the interesting things that happens when you do that is that you get more use out of the can. More of the stuff comes out of the can. It actually swells up inside on a safe way, but it helps propel and make the propellant that's inside last a little bit longer. You can't recharge one of these. Once it's dead, it's dead. But when you use something like this, it actually agitates and wakes the molecules up and kind of expands everything and kind of does a little bit of a pressure dance inside that can. So by using the SHAKEMASTER 4000, you can actually get more out of your rattle can. So why is that important? Well, this particular can of weld-through primer was $50 at my body shop supply store. $50. Now, it's going to go a long way, but if it sits, which it'll probably sit for the next 3 months on my shelf before I use it again, guess what happens to all those solids? It all goes back down to the bottom. And if I just pretend to shake it up for a couple of minutes, I'm missing out and I'm robbing the coating of its solids and its protective properties that it is designed to do. And that goes for not just weld-through primer, for clear coats, for color coats, for adhesion promoters. All of this stuff has to be intermixed. So not only is it fun to do, it saves me from having to sit there for 2 minutes and shake the can up. If I don't have a pneumatic paint shaker, I can just plug up this guy. It really, really works. So the other thing that I want to say about any kind of a rattle can is that, like I said, they all blend in with the professional world. When you're using professional products, you need to use professional PPE. I always recommend covering up bare skin, and I certainly recommend using some sort of a paint-regulated spray mask, not just a dust mask. This is aerosolized. This is a fine mist in the air that you don't want to suck into your respiratory system or your mucous membranes up in this business up in here. I'll just tell the truth. When I forget or cheat the procedure, I typically end up with a sinus infection, and that's no fun at all. So it's kind of gross. So it's just one of the last things I wanted to say about it. I don't mean to lecture, but one of the reasons that we can work around this stuff all day long, multiple days a week in the professional capacity is that typically people use good PPE. So I just want to extend that to you and humbly request that you use the proper spray mask when you're using any kind of aerosolized paint. So that's it. That's what I wanted to show you is the SHAKEMASTER 4000. So if you got any tool tips you want to send me, I'll talk about them. I've got a bunch of stuff I'm going to share with you and tech tips as well. So thanks for watching Paintucation by Kevin Tetz, and thanks for subscribing. We got all kinds of stuff coming to you. This happens to be on a Tuesday. Every Saturday morning we launch a new video. So thank you so much for being a part of my world here, and we will see you on the next video.